Hi, this is Matt with the Intergalactic Herald. Welcome to my Star Atlas Week in Review podcast. This is podcast number 137. Any articles or videos mentioned can be found on my website at intergalacticherald.com. Just look for weekly recap newsletter 185. So just a quick summary of things that happened in Star Atlas this past week. The Star Atlas community team had two events. One was their Atlas Brew, where they talked about the DAO. And then the monthly economic forum occurred, and they talked about the quarter report and some of the other things going on in the economy of Star Atlas. And that was pretty much it. Beyond the Horizon did a recap video, so you can check that out. And AFIA did their weekly Star Atlas newsletter. But before I get to that, just a couple quick things on things I'm doing in Star Atlas. One is my website, intergalacticherald.com. It's a great Star Atlas resource website. I have beginner's guides, list of the guilds, many directories for Star Atlas content creators and builders and tools that are into things. I have a number of recaps. One, my weekly written summary of the Star Atlas content that was created. You can also get AI summaries of the community team events. And then finally, I do have another newsletter you can sign up for, which is basically the Star Atlas Discord announcements that the team makes. You can get those sent directly to your email. So please check all that out at intergalacticherald.com. Do also have a Star Atlas merch store at Intergalactic Gear. Not a lot of things available, on the back burner to put some more products there, but it is open for business. So you can check that out at intergalacticgear.com. Do have a merch survey there also. And finally, I am looking to create a Star Atlas community for Star Atlas gamers who aren't interested in joining any guild, but nevertheless want to hang out with other Star Atlas gamers. Please go to intergalacticcoalition.com for more information and an interest survey there. As I mentioned, there were two main Star Atlas community events this past week. One was the Atlas Brew, and the other was the Economy Forum. So I'll go over the Atlas Brew first. One of the two news items they mentioned. One was on the Zinc, the new token. That's the blockchain that will be powering Star Atlas going forward, which is a clone of Solana. They have actually already gathered testers who are working to look at the dashboard, which I wasn't 100% sure what the dashboard is, but hey, nevertheless, still good. And they wouldn't give any dates on when that testing could be done, but just the fact that some testing is occurring shows that, again, there is forward motion on the Zinc system, protocol, blockchain, whatever you want to call it. Another part of their noteworthy news was that the Super Phoenix DAO, which again is an organization that is related to one of the large Titan ships in Star Atlas, is starting their own racing league. Part of it, because it's such a big ship, they'll have their own racetracks within the ship. So they're going to start some racing leagues now with the current UE5 version. At least I assume so, because the Titan doesn't exist inside the game yet. Anyway, so some information with that. One interesting thing they're doing is recruiting for different roles on that racing league. So again, it's an interesting way of doing it. And then the bulk of the Star Atlas Brew was from a couple members of the DAO Council was there, and they gave some updates on things going on in the DAO, on the council, upcoming elections occurring. If you want to catch up on all that, you can go to Star Atlas TV, who has a recording of the Atlas Brew, or you can check out my event recap of that, which is again an AI audio summary or text if you want to read it. And you can check that out either in the podcast feed. If you already subscribed, you already got that. Or again, you can check that out on my website at intergalacticherald.com. Just look for the event recaps. The second event put on by the community or Star Atlas community team was their economic forum. Again, they do this once a month. This one had the quarterly report, some highlights of that. So you can check that out. The whole, I can't remember, 10 plus page PDFs available on the Star Atlas website. I do have a link on my news recap you can check out. Look for news weekly recap newsletter 185 for that. I'd already listened to my own recap, so I didn't write anything down. But yeah, again, the different things were going on with things. As I mentioned in the past, it is a very dense document, but again, they mentioned that it is an academic document more than a game player thing. So again, there were some different things on how Star Atlas, the economy, is performing. So I won't go over those here because I didn't write myself any notes. They also did talk about the first official season of HoloSim. I did write down a couple interesting notes. One, first time I think I've heard that the HoloSim team was, quote, less than 10 people, which didn't even know if it was more than 2 people. So that's cool to get some insider thing. They mentioned 436 battle passes were purchased, which again were ways to have enhancements to your gameplay, but again, still represents not a ton of income, but still the fact that people were willing to pay. And they mentioned 5,844 total players were in this season of the halls. So again, that's a thing. Now, I wasn't sure if that was wallets or actual players, because there was a whole big controversy about people doing alternate accounts for different ways to manipulate the game. They used the word players, so I'll just say that too. They did mention, wasn't I think intended, but they did mention a few things about Sage. I think it was more in the Q&A section. One thing that was interesting was the fact that the answer was predominantly focused on whether or not Sage is profitable, because apparently when Atlas is down, which it is, and Solana is up, which it is, that really changes that profitability dynamic. Again, economy form, totally get it, but what about the game? But again, got to read the who's speaking and things like that. And I'll have I think I'll have a little more to say on that. Can't remember if I wrote some of that down. I can't remember. But anyways, maybe I'll try to remember. And then two final things. One was on the ship redemptions. They mentioned that the Mamba X was going up in price to now be closer to origination price. And I definitely will have something to say about that in a minute. But they also alluded to maybe there'll be some new ships available for crafting. So it'd be good. And then one person asked, I think, really a great question. And I actually got, at least my recollection, the most specific answer is, what would be a good number of daily active users to be good? And 2 numbers were thrown out, which again makes this wildly different, but one was 10,000 and one was 50,000. So I guess kind of was thinking with Holocim, there was 5,800, 10,000 would be good. Now again, Holocim's free to play. Sage has requirements for being involved, i.e. you got to buy ships, you got to pay fees, things like that. But as been mentioned past, I'm pretty sure, hopefully in public places, Michael Wagner, CEO, has mentioned, some of the other games have 100,000, and if we could just get a fraction of that, that would be enough to prime the pump and keep things going. Yeah, definitely it feels they're aware of new acquisition of players, and that was a great question. It was a straightforward answer, so I think that was great. So anyway, that's pretty much it this past week. But again, this is the cadence. Always the Atlas Peru. Seems to be always a Thursday extra one, whether it's the Builder Hour, the Economy Forum, or Lore Keeper. So you get those 2 events. Not that I ever go to it, and it doesn't really have news, but they also have the traditional Friday night, somewhere Friday night, not my Friday night, gameplay. And then I think there's some other, during the week, some Atlas Brews, other language Atlas Brews, German and Spanish, I think, maybe Portuguese. I can't remember. There are some other events. It's just, again, they're not, sorry, I can't speak the language, so I don't attend. Anyway, so moving on to my next segment, which is kind of my thoughts on the state of Star Atlas this past week. I actually changed up my listening style. If you've listened before, I unfortunately leave the economic forum to the last one, and I get really tired. Just when I did it first, because I had listened to my AI summaries that I had done earlier in the week, so I already knew what was coming. But it is actually much better if you're not as tired, so I got more out of it. So that was cool. And I did want to compliment the econ team, that their forum is, and again, I don't want to put any kind of whatever on other things because they're all having their place, but the econ team has been very consistent, very predictable, always the first Thursday of the month, very good communication. They bring slides. And what I realized that was cool about it is because it's once a month, it's really showing the progression, regardless if it's positive or negative, is showing progression of this specific aspect of the game. I really think that was great. Really appreciative of the Twitter devlog that has started. I just have always had a hard time following in Twitter and stuff. I do try to repost those, but so it's still good, and it shows that different people with different techniques is perfectly fine. And of course, the Atlas Brew is always great. It is consistent. It's just a number of different topics from week to week. It's great that we heard more about the DAO. I haven't heard about them in months. It'd be great if the other departments could get on that kind of same cadence. The other thing that was interesting was, I was going to talk about, the relationship between the token prices. So Atlas being down and Sol being up. But I do think it's interesting, and again, it was the economy form, so it makes sense. But the focus at Sage is about profitability, and they had mentioned, and I'll get into it later, about more fun things to do like craft ships, and I'll talk about that topic in a second, but just that's the fun part, that everything else is the profitable part. And I don't know, I wrote this note to myself, and now I'm thinking differently of it but that's okay. If we all know that the economy aspect, i.e. Sage, the supply chain, whatever you want to call it, is really, truly an economic game. It's fine. Some people like checkers, some people like chess. They're games. One takes more strategy, one takes not as much strategy, or whatever. Pick whatever game you want to say. But what was also interesting, though, was this point of the profitability. The token prices are really there. So if one's down, the other one's up, it pretty much makes it unprofitable. And given that both of them, at least in my perspective of how these things are controlled, are completely, why is Solana up today and why is Atlas down? But there does seem to be a relationship as far as active users and other things. I guess I'm more curious about this than I was in the past, because I was thinking more as a game first, and Atlas is just the token you buy things for, so does it really matter? Solana obviously is the blockchain, but you need it for fees, and I get it if it costs more to do actions, and Solana costs more, then that doesn't really make much sense. But the fact that this was predominantly basically a calculation, and when the calculation doesn't work, you don't play. I don't know. It just doesn't sit right. And I guess where this leads to the next thought I had is what is the major driver of engagement then? Again, I guess we'll just focus on Sage, because again, HoloSim is a different product with a different audience with a different purpose, but Sage is definitely the foundation of what Star Atlas is supposed to be, forgetting the interface, or whether it's web browser or Fleet Command or whatever. That's just an interface. There's still this idea is on the blockchain, there are these smart contracts that are basically allowing you to mine and move and eventually have combat, but definitely mine, move, and craft. And if that's the major game and you want to drive engagement, is the only way you can drive engagement is whether or not it's profitable. And again, that shouldn't be a problem. We have our different definition of fun. You could say something's a game or not, but work isn't fun. Well, again, not to get into that, but if it was fun, it wouldn't be work or whatever. But work is something you do, spend your time, exchange your time for money, and hopefully the whole system works. But games are never that. So is this just a work? And in that case, then yeah, duh. If it's not profitable, don't do it. So I don't know. I just, again, this thinking about things slightly with a different perspective. And if it is so focused on the relationship of token prices and things like that, and there is no engagement just for the pure entertainment value, I guess then will this ever work? Or is this one of those kind of fatal flaws or is this to me a fatal flaw of crypto gaming, in the sense that if crypto gaming is only gaming with crypto, if I wanted to go play something fun, I have a number of RTSs sitting on my computer. I can click in 1 second that I bought 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, and I can just go have fun. It doesn't cost me a cent. Don't need to worry about blockchain. Don't worry about crypto or having a hot wallet, where it's updated, what's the price of crypto today. I just go play, and an hour later, I've had entertainment. But if crypto gaming's only really difference is, hey, I own this asset, and maybe this asset could be more, but hey, the token price went down, and I have no control over the token price as a single gamer. It's some gigantic factor of some other thing going on. I don't know. Maybe this is why crypto gaming hasn't caught on. It's crypto gaming. It's not gaming. It's crypto gaming. And if crypto is the only driver for it, then what is it? If it's not profitable, then why would anybody do it? And if profitability is determined by token prices going up or down, I don't know. It's the first time it really sunk in that, is this a fatal flaw? So I don't know. I'm still would like to play a game about Star Atlas, but I guess if the whole thing's crypto and prices go down, and I don't know. I guess we'll just see. But anyways, that's a thought. Hopefully that's why you're listening, just to hear thoughts. I don't have to have solutions. I don't know. Anyway, that was my thinking on the state of Star Atlas this past week. And then talking a little bit more about my journey, and I was mentioning about the origination price of the Mamba X. I guess I understand the choice to align more with the original origin price. Obviously, I wish I had known that, but again, I'm sure they didn't even know that, because it doesn't feel like it's even doable to mine all that information. I guess I take a little bit of whatever. This is funner, and I'm like, this is to me not fun. And I know it's early in the game, If it was already set, that's how you got that ship. Again, I'm not faulting that the game is changing. I totally get it. And they've been pretty upfront that this is the best time to do everything. And it'll be harder and more expensive down the road. I get it. That's fun. But if we're now getting to the point where the price to redeem the ship is pretty much the same price as buying the ship, then doesn't the fees to do all the actions from Solana just make it like, why would you even do that? So I guess my theory had been on all this is that I could invest time, be patient, run it for 6 months, whatever, and you just quote unquote grind away, you'll be able to build it up. Yeah, you could say the goalposts are moving and now it costs more. Okay, fine. Regardless, even if it wasn't that, let's just say it was always that origination price. So you can buy the ship at the origination price, or you could mine all these resources and craft and get that same thing. But if all the things that go into it cost the same money, but then you have to do crafting, which takes time, and you got to pay all the fees. Again, I know Zinc's going to take away that, but again, there's still fees. Then it would make absolutely no sense to do a redemption strategy if in the end it isn't equivalent, it's more expensive. Now, I could be completely wrong on that analysis. I haven't looked at how much more each of the resources because I thought time was the thing. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I need to do more research. I'm not at all sure that this is the right thing because again, once I found out again, it was a 10x or 20x more. I'm like, it took me months to get just the basics. And again, some of these are really far away. And there is no way on Solana fees that can be practical. Yeah, I don't know. I think it seems to me there needs to be a time component. I am okay with time, but the time has to reduce the inputs. I don't know. I'm not even sure I'm saying that. But anyways, short term, yeah, I don't get it. Sorry. And again, I guess whales can do this because they don't have the same transaction fees because they can do a whole bunch of more things. Anyways, again, it's maybe just for the whales right now. We haven't heard about small players in a while, so I don't know. Anyways, so what does it mean for all me or for my play? Again, this Mamba X idea I had months and months ago seems to be completely dead. Maybe I'll change my mind when Zinc comes out because at least there I would be indirectly gaining some other commodity for my investment of Solana in the short term, knowing that eventually the Solana one will go away. I can justify that. But as of this moment, yeah, I'm still going to keep taking a break from Sage because I can't justify anything in it. If the goal that I had, other than the daily redemption of loyalty points or I don't know. Again, I never got into that one, so it's completely foreign to me. It's not worth my time to figure it out when I probably barely will get anything. I need much simpler to understand concepts with the caveat being time. But again, I'll wait on that. And again, it sounds like Zinc is closer than it was a few weeks ago, and the fact that they're doing testers. Definitely, if they're talking about maybe new ships, hopefully they would be cheaper. Then I could easily see that's something that's intriguing. And again, that's fine. Different scales. Again, maybe the whales go after the big ones, but I guess they'll probably want to go after the small ones too. I don't know. So anyways, yeah, a little down, but again, it just, I don't know, I'm fine with them changing the game. I don't know what I'm trying to accomplish, especially when fees are so high. And then just last thing, because of course I could alternatively start looking at Holocim. Totally agree it's a good idea. Totally think it's a great product. All those benefits. It just wasn't what I was interested in when I first learned about Star Atlas. And again, I know it's a similar gameplay. In fact, people are saying it's much funner because you can level up faster, you get more things. Again, that's all fine. I would love to be a whale. I know I never will be. But yeah, again, the original idea was, at least in my mind, was that Star Atlas would have this progression, and I'm okay with the time commitment, but yeah, Holocim just requires way too much time, in my opinion, to get that factor when it just goes away every 6 weeks or something like that. So again, in the end, just doesn't fit my lifestyle. That's okay. I'm glad it exists. I'm happy it exists. Love it if it would be made into a mobile version. But given that it changes and Yeah, I think Beyond the Horizon was talking about the different levels, and yeah, maybe if you're in the top 300, you get $5 and a skin. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's just, yeah, and I've said it, I think, in the past, that's just not my time. But again, if I haven't stated in a while, good time to maybe way to end this up. The thing I'm really fascinated with Star Atlas as a gaming concept is definitely the ownership aspect the blockchain provides, whatever ownership that is, whether that's materials, ships, claim stakes, whatever. You own things, and those things have potential value to someone else. Totally love that idea. Love the sci-fi aspect, going out, exploring, mining, all those things. And team's definitely moving there. Lots of talk on C4, on the things that'll come. Again, as I mentioned a couple weeks back, this could be the final gameplay thing. So again, after many years, it would make sense we're at this, and then they keep building on top of this. So makes perfect sense in the foundation. Yeah, that's still what I'm interested in. And I think I kind of alluded to maybe claim stakes and C4s, something that might fit in with those kind of things with trading, getting more specialized, things like that. So again, it still all feels there, but in the short term, yeah, Alsim seems like a great product, good idea. Not really interested in a 6-week churn through different things. Yeah, it's just not me. But again, some other people are liking it, and I'm glad it exists. So anyways, that's kind of it for this week. Thanks for listening. Again, drop it up. Totally open to any other guests on the podcast. I know I haven't had very many, but again, still something I'd love to do. So again, that could be other community members who just want to talk about the week in review. Definitely open to helping promote other people's content creators or builders within the space. Please go to intergalacticherald.com. Look for my contact page. You can reach out to me there, or of course in Discord if you're in there. Do check out while you're at my website. Do have tons of different Star Atlas resources, from beginner's guide, guild directory, builder directory, tool directory, things like that. Check out the different recaps I have, weekly content recap, event recaps, and then of course you can sign up and get your Star Atlas team announcements from their Discord sent directly to your email. So all that's at intergalacticherald.com. Please check out my merch store, Star Atlas merch, intergalacticgear.com, and love to really get a community of fellow Star Atlas gamers who don't want to be aligned with a guild, but nevertheless just want to hang out and chat, and who knows where we could take that inside the game. Please check out intergalacticcoalition.com for that. Other than that, hope you had a great past week in Star Atlas. This is Matt with the Intergalactic Herald. Have a great week ahead.